Ah, boy, breakups, they can be so messy. But when children are involved, the stakes are much higher. And we've seen cases where one parent cuts off access or even takes a child without the other's consent. So what does the law actually say? Today we're joined by attorney at law Lorenzo J. Eccleston, and he's going to break it all down for us. Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica. It's morning time.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about parental rights in Jamaica, Lorenzo. Do both parents have equal rights in Jamaica?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Parents have the tendency to believe that one party has greater rights than the other, and that's not true.
Yeah.
Both have equal rights under the relevant legislations that we have, and that is why the courts are always here to intervene when one of two issues may arise. I may decide to take the child from, because as you rightly say, there's a breakup. We've broken down irretrievably. We're not going anywhere with this relationship. But kids are involved. What happens next? In my words, the selfishness of...
We weaponize access.
The selfishness of either parent decides that, hey, I'm a dual citizen, or I have residency in, say, the United Kingdom. I'm going to collect the kids and pretend as if I'm taking them out to see grandma in the country. And I'm going to fly off to the United States. I'm going to fly off to the United Kingdom. And that's one aspect of it. And that is where we now have the Hague Convention that deals with the issue of the correct habitual resident of the child. So say, for example, the kids were living here, they were connected here, they've been going to school in Jamaica, and I decide that, oh, being selfish, my words, I'm going to fly off to the United States. Unilateral decision, no discussion or consent of the other party. And then I go to the United States. The other party has a right to go to the United States and seek an order from that court. For example, that Jamaica is a habitual residence.
Okay.
And were that court to agree that the real connectivity of that child is actually in Jamaica, then an order can be made under what we call the Hague cases, the Hague Convention, for the child to be returned to Jamaica for the issue of custody to be dealt with, to be resolved within the local courts here, the place of habitual residence.
By the way, it happens a lot. People may not understand how often it happens.
It's, to be frank, without saying more, I've been involved in a number of cases of that particular nature. And what you have is the selfishness to say that I'm just going to take this child and I'm going to go away, I'm not going to involve you, and then I'm going to start a new life. But our courts in Jamaica in particular, since we ratified the treaty, I think in about 2017, they've been resolute. They've been handing down some beautiful decisions, in my view, which would establish where the habitual residence is and where the parties actually need to go to sort out the issue of custody.
You've used the term habitual residence, and I want to get a little bit more clarity on it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because a parent may say, but listen, since we've been divorced, or if we were never married, since we've no longer been together, the child has been living with me. Wherever I am is the child's habitual residence. And I am migrating, so the child has to come with me. Is there any kind of...
This is the best way I can answer it. It's a question of fact for the courts.
Okay.
Question of fact to find out where the child is. In fact, in one of the cases, your habitual residence can change within a week, or even one went as far as to say within a day. So it depends on
what makes it habitual. That's
what makes it... Okay, so... is a child going to school here? Is a child living here? Is a child having family relations here? The social and the family structures which are in place to demonstrate that they are habitually resident in Jamaica, which is also different from the question of ordinarily resident, which is another test in a legal sphere. But when we're dealing with the Hague Convention, the question of habitual residence and the integration in this particular society, that connection that exists, is what is important and is key. And once that determination has been made in that respect, the next question is they return to the place of habitual residence, and having been returned to the place of habitual residence, the question of custody, the best interest concept. But before you go any further, what I must also say that though there are time limits, the application has to be made within 12 months, for example. There's also the issue of, has a child been settled in that new environment? There are defenses, Article 13B defenses, for example, you could say that there's a grave risk if the child were to be returned where some psychological harm or physical harm or be put in an intolerable situation. The test is high. It's a high bar. And
so the welfare of the child is always paramount.
It's always is where kids are concerned. But the concept of in the Hague Convention cases, the voices of the children are also taken into account. What if the child says, I do not wish to be returned? And the question is this authentic position from the child, or is it that they were coached, or the parent who had wrongfully retained them or wrongfully removed them, have they influenced them in such a, and the judge has to deal with that.
It's because sometimes, people say, oh my God, they're charging a parent with kidnapping, but it's the parent's child. How can a parent kidnap a child? But that's possible.
I mean, yes. I mean, they're under the Offenses Against a Persons Act. There's a law that deals with kidnapping and stealing of a child. There's an issue that I know the CPFSA has in terms of the under 14 age limit and wanting to increase it. But there is that criminal aspect of it. I mean, we don't hear it a lot in terms of parents being criminally charged. What is that? Nefarious third party, that person who goes to the hospital and steals the child, and then I mean, there's a case that I was looking at recently where the judge gave the person a non-custodial sentence. I mean, they took into account the age of the individual and the circumstances that she was going through. I mean, ultimately the birth mother got back her child. So yes, there is the aspect.
But then that wouldn't have been her own child.
It wouldn't have been.
I'm a parent.
Sure. And the law is there. The law is there, and it's a matter for the DPP.
So for example, a father may say, you know what, I'm going to take this child. What moves it from him trying to have the child with him to it being kidnapping? Can a parent be charged with kidnapping? I
mean, they can. The Offense Against a Persons Act actually speaks to it.
Okay.
So there's and I would imagine once the elements of that offense have been met, then it's a possibility. But as far as I'm aware, I'm more aware of the civil realm in terms of persons going on the Hague Convention, for example, as opposed to a criminal prosecution being done. But there's a possibility under the relevant statute.
The relevant statute. All right, so I mean, we've been talking a lot about parents taking children overseas. What about here, parish to parish? Like, we've been reading stories of people who are now older and saying, I just met my dad and I thought he was dead, or I just met my mom, I didn't even know she was alive, because a parent took someone to a different parish. And it sounded to me like they didn't know their rights as a parent, that somebody can't just take a child and move to St. Anne and in St. Thomas.
This is my view from practicing in the family courts. It's very emotional.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
The parent, especially the mom, always, to my mind, I could be wrong, believes that she has greater rights. And you have situations where we're living in Kingston, something goes wrong, I just pack up, I'm going to hand over my mother, and that's it, and there's no communication, and the father is alive and well, but he doesn't know, he doesn't go to court, he doesn't challenge anything, but the courts are there. The courts are there for us to have joint custody. The courts are there to ensure that even if you have primary custody, I have access. I can get weekends, every other weekends, I can get holidays. Those things are there. So it's a matter of, you have the CPFSA and you have the OCA, and there are those state bodies that are here to provide the assistance. Persons can make themselves available by, at least, at the very least, the head office is in Kingston on Duke Street. I'm sure there might be parish offices.
Yes.
But person just needs to get involved in terms of finding out what their rights are.
And how to access
and
them.
how to access them.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Speaking with us this morning, attorney at law Lorenzo J. Eccleston. The second edition of News in 5 is next.